Colts training camp starts this week. Who's going to win QB1? How much difference will Lou Anarumo make? And will the Colts make the playoffs? Ben Solak from ESPN joins today to tell us what he thinks. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. What is up, friends and family? We got a special guest with us here today. I am Jake Arthur. He is Zach Hicks. You know us from horseshoehuddle.com. And we have got our boy Ben Solak from ESPN with us today. It's been quite a while. Ben last was on here to help us predict Shane Steichen coming to the Colts. And now look, we're a couple years in. We're entering year 3 with Shane Steichen, Ben. I'm not going to lie. I think we may have all manifested this. And I think you coming back might be what we need in order for the Colts to get kind of this thing rolling, because it hasn't gone smoothly so far.
I'm about to say, was my appearance, did it herald good times for the Colts? I'm not sure you could say the last 2 years have been like a success. I'm hoping I can get a little more coming.
It was better than 2022. With Jeff Saturday and all that. So it did lead to somewhat better times, just not great times for the Colts.
Yeah.
The tagline of the Chris Ballard era, somewhat better times.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Treading water with Chris Ballard. No, but we've got Ben here today to kind of give us a pretty, overhead view of the Colts right now. We're about to start training camp here. Tuesday, they report. Wednesday, they hit the field for the first practice. And all offseason, everything has been, the Colts can do this if the quarterback situation is adequate enough. So Ben, when you look at it, I've seen you've written about this, and it's just kind of a mystery to everybody. When you look at Anthony Richardson going into year 3, feels like kind of a do or die thing. Daniel Jones getting kind of a second chance at life in the NFL, it seems, after kind of fading out with the Giants. What's your gauge on this Colts quarterback situation? And do you have a guess at what you think might happen?
Yeah. So firstly, we should say this is a quarterback competition, and it's pretty rare that we see a quarterback competition, like an actual one. Usually it's rookie versus vet quarterback competition. Like, we'll see if the young guy coming in. Richardson's obviously in year 3, right? And from the amount of football he's played, you could say this still reads as rookie versus vet. That'd be very fair. But in general, like, it's rare to see third-year guy versus 6th, 7th, 8th year guy, Daniel Jones, right? And 7, yeah. 7th-year guy, Daniel Jones, and say, hey, kind of Joker pool stick, snap it, toss in the middle, and say, somebody come out of this room. That's how they're going to do it. I think if the story on Anthony Richardson over the last 2 years where inconsistent play when he played, super injured, and now he's fighting with Daniel Jones, I would say, whatever, 50-50, and if Richardson's healthy, and obviously he has the guy who might actually be the future of the team, and like they probably still want him to win it. When you fold in some of like the off-field's the wrong word, like next to the field, sideline stuff, when you talk about the tap in the head and the benching and whatever, you do wonder the degree to which they have continued faith in Anthony Richardson, such that I think like it's probably early edge Daniel Jones in camp. It's silly because Jones is not going to do anything to lose a job in camp. He's Daniel Jones, right? He will behave. He will obey. He will do what he's supposed to do in the scheme, and he will throw accurate footballs 5 to 12 yards down the field. And Richardson's not going to do anything in camp to win the job other than what you already know, right? He's going to hit like 4 insane throws, right? Is he still going to have some bad accuracy sprays? Yes. Like, obviously the number one thing he can do to win it is like just be healthy for the entirety of camp. So it's hard to figure out like what's going to move the needle on them between now and September 1st. But my guess is going to be that Daniel Jones is the starter and that we see both of them for a decent amount of games over the course of the year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I really wanted to pick your brain here about Daniel Jones because, when a player becomes part of your team, your favorite team as a fan, no matter what they did before, they become very good all of a sudden in your head. 100%. They could be the biggest bust in the world, but the second they join my team, don't worry, things are different now. They're going to be better. And I kind of want to pick your brain on Daniel Jones in general because we have seen some quarterbacks in a new destination look better. Baker Mayfield has found a new groove with Tampa Bay than what he did. I guess his rookie year in Cleveland was like that. And then it went downhill, and then he became what he is now. We saw Alex Smith continue his high-end play at the end of his San Fran tenure, carry that into Kansas City and look good. Do you think Daniel Jones could be a quarterback that could revitalize his career? Or when you were watching him in New York, it's like, man, this is kind of just who he is.
Yeah. So it's 100% within his range of outcomes, right? Where Jones joins who I think is the best offensive play caller he's ever had in Shane Steichen. I know people rate Brian Dable, and Dable, I think, traded a lot on like I helped Josh Allen get good, but the more years we get away from that, more it feels like, hey, maybe Josh Allen just got good. And so to me, like, Steichen is the best offensive play caller that Jones has been around. These weapons don't even get me started, right? The second best player that Daniel Jones ever thrown the football to is Darius Slayton. You know, like this is like it's like the 1 year of Darren Waller, the 1 year of Golden Tate. Like it's probably actually Malik Neighbors, like as Neighbors, you know, here gets better and establishes himself. But in general, it's been a very, very thin pass catching options for Jones there in New York. And so now he gets a room with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren and Adonai. That might like not be amazing, but it's really hard to going to be bad, right? That's a pretty good room. The offensive line, which again, like there are question marks, there is uncertainty, but it's probably going to be a good offensive line again. Yeah, this is the best offensive nucleus that he's enjoyed. And so there's worlds where you get that resurgent year from Daniel Jones. Now, when we talk about the names, we're talking about Baker Mayfield, who the Jeremy Fowler's list for ESPN had Mayfield's the 10th best quarterback in football, coming off like a 45 touchdown season. You know, like this is kind of the peak for Mayfield. Other than that, the names are kind of Geno, right? Who's done in their Seattle. You can argue Sam Darnold with what he pulled off this past season with Minnesota. So we're talking about guys who are outside of the top 10 of quarterbacks. So you still need to be like really, really, really good everywhere else, offensive weaponry, and then on the defensive side of the ball to make a run with that guy. Now, if you can pull it off, great. It means Shane Steichen's the dude. It means Josh Downs is the dude. It means you have guys. But again, you have to understand the hard cap on that. Like, even if Jones bounces back in a way that excites Colts fans, you're probably still going to have the same problem that you've had in Indianapolis for a while, which is, okay, how do we get through the AFC here? How do we actually make playoff noise?
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of the balance Colts fans are kind of struggling with right now, is wanting the season to not just be so ugly and clunky like it has been, but also getting a quarterback that you can ride with for multiple years next offseason. I really don't know how that all winds up working out, but we'll see. Otherwise, outside of Daniel Jones, you know, the biggest thing the Colts did offensively this offseason was add Tyler Warren. So you were familiar with Shane Steichen before he got here to Indy, and this is really like the first time he hasn't really had much going on at tight end, but now he does. So how much can this kind of help unlock Shane Steichen a little bit? Because he has shown that he's a good play caller with the Colts, but it feels a little hamstrung at the same time.
Yeah, I really, really don't know. I would love to have a good answer for that.
That's fair.
There's two reasons why. And the first is because when Steichen was at his best, right, and going back to the 22 season with the Eagles, with Jalen Hurts and with Dallas Goedert, the way that they kind of weaponized Goddard was they had the little, like Chris Collinsworth famously called it the run pass run option, right? Which is like more complex of a description than you need. But they had the little play action boot concept, or Dallas Goedert would be like the split zone block, the slide block, and then you leak out to the route and they throw it to him. That was like 65% of his usage, and it was just awesome. Like it was like the easiest play, and they just bang, 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 press the big red button. And defenses are going to be a lot better against that than they were that year. Other than that, like, I don't have great, strong memories of like, oh, this Shane Steichen tight end usage was like mind-boggling, right? It's not like, you know, you look at like Clint Kubiak in Seattle and like this Kyle Shanahan tree, and you're like, oh, these guys tight ends, like that's gonna be some stuff, you know. With Steichen, it's, you know, you can't think of him weaponizing the tight end position as much. So you have that over here. On the other side, you have Tyler Warren at Penn State. Was like they did some weird stuff with the guy, you know, like I personally liked Colston Loveland more than Tyler Warren coming out of the draft, because I thought Loveland was very plug and chug. Warren is very like, if you're going to get juice out of this guy, you need to have a whole chapter of the playbook that's called Tyler Warren, weird stuff, right? Like he is a very yak dependent player. You want to get the ball in his hands in a lot of space behind the line of scrimmage and let him rumble and jumble. Right now, he can make contested catch down the field, but a lot of that stuff is like ghost screens and like RPO switch up plays and like play action pass, goofy stuff, right? He wasn't at Penn State like ripping off post routes. Like that's not his style of game. And then obviously there's the backfield stuff as well. And so you have a guy in Steichen who we haven't really seen him be like a tight end centric dude in terms of his play calling. And maybe there's like a Chargers offense I'm not remembering well, but in general, like that's my understanding of him. And then there's Warren, who like very much you want to sculpt a big part of the playbook around him. So what's it going to look like? I will be reading every training camp update you guys have, trying to figure that out, because there's a lot of worlds where like Tyler Warren is like an 11, 12 touchdown player because they have like a huge red zone package for him. There's a lot of worlds where he's the 8th best, pass catcher in football on third downs. They have a huge third down package for him, but you don't exactly know what his future is going to be. The fact that they invested this highly in him implies it's going to be something. It's going to be valuable. We're going to find out more as we go along.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned there about how Tyler Warren, you kind of need to have this like wonky usage of him in a way. It's kind of how it is. And I think when I really look at Shane Steichen, he's the best, in my opinion, at just looking at what a player does well and just we're going to spam that with that guy. Josh Downs, we're going to ISO you backside, and you're going to get a linebacker or a safety one-on-one and just run a little choice route. That's what you're going to do 15 times a game, 20 times a game, and you're going to get like 6 catches on that. When you look at A.D. Mitchell last year, A.D. Mitchell, very raw wide receiver, wasn't really exactly where he needed to be as a full-time guy, but when he got on the field, backside 3x1s, a ball by himself in press man coverage against a corner, and he's going to win that matchup. And then they had him throwing some passes last year too. Maybe hopefully Tyler Warren can do those or something maybe this year. But yeah, I think the Colts are kind of uniquely situated to where they will probably do something like that with Warren. But with what you said, they don't really have that in Shane Steichen's past in terms of just this kind of tight end, because Tyler Warren's so weird as a tight end.
Yeah, which is what I should make this clear, because I was conflating it. The fact that I haven't seen it in the past with Steichen makes it hard for me to predict what it will be. I'm confident it will exist because Shane's good at what he does, right? It's not like, they're going to just, throw him 3 passes a game and use him like Johnny Munt. Like, that's not going to happen because Shane's good at what he does. And so I'm curious to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shane's kind of will fit the scheme around the players type of guy, which I think luckily, you give him a good player. He's not going to find a way to overcomplicate it, I don't think. But coming up, guys, the offense obviously was pretty clunky last year, but the defense was not a saving grace either. But they got a new coordinator in Lou Anarumo, and we are going to talk to Ben all about it. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Plus, you're already following all the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, it's fast to pay out, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Personally, whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or I'm watching a bet right into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, you guys, new customers, can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Workplace stress is at an all-time high. 61% of the global workforce is reporting higher than normal stress levels. The summer is the perfect time to take small steps to focus on your wellness and manage the challenge that comes with your workday. Of course, most of us just can't quit our jobs or take endless vacations. It seems like we all have seen people on social media who can handle that. But we could start small, whether it's getting outside for a few minutes, adding movement into your day, or maybe talking to someone who can help you navigate life's challenges. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. Therapy can help you set healthier boundaries at work so stress doesn't spill over into the rest of your life. I mean, a lot of us struggle to find that balance between work and life. We have families, we have stuff we want to do outside of work. More and more, it feels like work comes home with us. So if you're really having trouble navigating how to balance those things, BetterHelp can certainly help. The flexibility of online therapy makes it easy to fit sessions into a busy schedule, no matter where you are. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off of your first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, guys. So Colts got a new defensive coordinator this offseason. Out goes Gus Bradley with what we could probably consider a relatively predictable defense, a little static, if you will. And then in comes a guy, Lou Anarumo, who is known for versatility, multiplicity. We've heard a lot of those words thrown around whenever people talk about Lou Anarumo. So a lot of the same personnel, Ben, but I mean, you add in a Charvarius Ward and Cam Cam Bynum, which are obviously big additions. But this defense is also really, it seems like, reliant on a second-year jump from like Laiatu Latu. There are some concerning parts there. They didn't really do much with linebacker other than lose guys, really. But it kind of sounds like they're hoping for addition by subtraction, if we're being real about it. So what's your gauge on this defense this year? Because obviously a lot of focus on the offensive side of the ball, but there's some changes defensively as well.
I think it's going to be a solid defense. I think it's going to be better than it's been. They continue to have the depth at edge rusher, right? Angbo's out of the building. Tuimoloau is in the building, right? They're going to continue to have lines there. They're hoping to get Ebukam back, right? I think that you're going to see, like, you don't know what his effectiveness is going to be, but they're going to have horses, right? And they're going to have the ability to pressure the pocket. Like you said, like a jump from Latu. Yeah, like right now you have a lot of guys who disrupt, and you'd like to have a primary sack getter and the ability to actually get the quarterback down. I think that's the big expectation for Latu when he was picked there in the first round. So that's obviously a key difference. I'm really interested to see how the run defense ends up working, just because, with Gus, it was like, we're going to be gapped out. We're going to be +1 in the box. Lou is going to be a lot more willing to play with neutral boxes than that. And from a personnel perspective, like obviously they have the defensive tackle duo, but those guys are getting up there, and linebacker wise, they're not big at all. Right. And so I think I don't know what a lot of their solutions are going to be yet for the questions of when they run into the heavy personnel teams that want to be 2 backs, they want to be 2 tight ends, they want to get under center and run the football. That's something that remains an uncertainty. But in the secondary, I've always been a big fan of what Lou does in the defensive backfield. I think he coaches extremely well against the elite offenses, against the best quarterbacks. He makes them hold on to the football. He makes them hesitate. And a lot of the issues that the Bengals have was just they did not have the horses to pull that off in the defensive backfield over the last couple of years. Talked about Shane adjusting to personnel. Lou could have done a little better job adjusting to personnel. Lou's pretty my way or the highway when it comes to his defense. But they went out and they got Cam Bynum. They got Charvarius Ward. They have the dudes such that they should be able to pull this off and have a good back seven when they get into those long and late downs. Run defense is the question mark. But I think moving on from Bradley and getting a defense coordinator like Lou is an improvement. I think that's a step up independent of some of the personnel changes.
Yeah, I very much agree with you on run defense, especially if one of those defensive tackles were to go down this year.
Yeah, they're real thin.
Yeah, it's not great. It's what Neville Gallimore is their next man up on the interior, and that's not really a guy you want playing like a nose position or a guy who's going to be 2-gapping or anything like that. Mm-hmm. That's not really a guy that you want as like your primary focal point in the run defense. So I do think run defense will be a bit of an issue. I think Nick Cross being in the box will help, but again, that's a smaller defender who's a good tackler, but he's not going to stack and shed.
Are they going to give the Mizuki 1,000 snaps? Is that the plan? Next to Carlies?
They might.
Is it Carlies or Carlies?
Carlies.
I always want to call him Carlies, but it's Carlies.
Yeah. He's got to be healthy though. He missed half the year last year on IR, and then he had to get surgery on the shoulder that was injured, and he and Zaire Franklin were unable to participate in the offseason program. And
that's not great, guys.
That's what I'm saying. I complain about it every episode on here.
But wait, Ben, I got to throw out because we did a bold prediction the other day, and I got to throw this out to you. I said on my bold predictions the other day that whether it's due to injury or just due to Lou loving his veterans, I said Joe Bocci is going to get the second most snaps in that room.
Oh, yeah.
Just because
if Joe Bocci's getting the second most snaps of all the linebackers on the Colts defense, I'd like to redact my statement about the pass defense doing well, just because there's a very limited range of influence for the young man Bocci, unfortunately.
No, for sure.
I'm trying to look and see who's like the available off-ball linebackers. Juwan Bentley is still around. Kaiser White. I feel like Kaiser White would be, I feel like, a good solution to that problem. Yeah.
Overlapped in Philly a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's solutions there. But I did want to look at this defensive backfield again with you, because adding a Charvarius Ward, adding a Cameron Bynum, I mean, this was a secondary the last couple of years where Chris Ballard was rolling out like rookies and former undrafted free agents out there in the secondary. Now you have a starting 5 of, when you're in nickel, Kenny Moore, Charvarius Ward, Jalen Jones. Then you have Nick Cross and Cameron Bynum. Plus, you got, a third-round pick in Justin Wally, who I know a lot of people liked more than most media members there. You have Juju Brents, could just give you anything that's good there. So it's like, when you're looking at this Lou Anarumo defense in general, how important is it to have the dogs in the defensive backfield like the Colts have?
So the number one stressor on a Lou Anarumo defense is communication. It's formation, snap recognition. They're going to break the defensive huddle with a lot called, right? And when they want to play as much zone, and they play zone with vision, with eyes, right? This is like, we are dropping into zone coverage. We are covering an area of the field. They're going to meld those zones and change those responsibilities very heavily on who's lined up where. Is the fast guy at the 3? Is he in the slot? Is he at the 1? Okay, are they overloaded? Okay, what's the route distribution look like? There's a lot. This is a complex defense for the defensive back 7. So if you do not have good safeties, if you do not have guys at the back end to get everybody's head screwed on straight, then you end up in a really bad way. And that's why I think Bynum is a very, very important player to them. The absolute best thing that Bynum did during his time with Minnesota is that he was a smart cookie. And he understood how to play his zones where they're sending a lot of blitzes. And so it's a lot of like, okay, you have to be able to take one guy away and then take a second guy away. He has a great field sense. Those guys who play deep middle all the time, they just see everything develop. They're constantly getting more and more information because they're just watching routes over and over and over again. They see so much. So I think Bynum is a very important player. And then with Ward, I think you needed to have a corner 1 because he clarifies Jalen Jones, who you like a lot better as a corner 2 than you like as a corner 1. He clarifies Kenny Moore, who you like a lot better in the slot than you like on the outside, right? And so like if they had walked into this year with Jones and with Moore and with Juju or like Ballantine, you'd be like, okay, like these are playable guys. They're fine. But like you're going to lose to like Brian Thomas Jr. because he's just better than anybody you're going to get across from him, which are various where you actually have a puncher's chance there. And so the additions are good. The big thing about the additions is how well they communicate, how well they gel, how well they clarify the other roles. If you get 5 guys in the secondary, 7 guys in the defensive back 7, you include the linebackers, all row in the boat in the same direction, this can be a really good defense. It's a big menu. Like, would not be surprised if they're shaky in September, right? And there's coverage bust, and there's mistakes, there's big games, and they get better October, November, December.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to ask you next was, do you think this is a defense where we see kind of the peak of them being in like December? And you kind of answered it there, because that's kind of what I've been saying too recently. It's like September, this might be a bit of an issue, especially coming from the defense a lot of these guys are coming from in Gus Bradley, where it's pretty static, get to your zone drops, come up and tackle. Here, you're asked to read a lot of different things and change a lot of coverages, like you said, based off of what you're seeing from the offense.
Yeah, and Lou's defense, it took Lou's defense a couple years in Cincinnati to get off the ground, but also that was like COVID time. And so it's a little bit hard to be like, oh, so that's a thing. Like that'll happen again. You don't really know the extent of that. And you don't know how much better Lou's gotten at like teaching stuff and changing stuff and whatever. And he has like very established veteran guys in Ward and in Bynum who are very good at what they do. And obviously Kenny Moore's been doing this for a long time too. So he has like guys who are ready to kind of get the full plate. So I do think it'll be better in December than it will be in September, which is kind of stupid. Like it's always like that's everybody in the league.
Right.
But specifically for this defense and for how big of a change this is versus Gus Bradley, which is very like, you're seeing the game through a straw a little bit. This is going to be an adjustment. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of those early September games are a lot of, finger pointing after 80-yard touchdown sort of stuff. It's going to happen.
Unfortunate nature of it, but all right, everydayers, we have talked both sides of the ball, but next we're talking playoffs. Will they make it? We'll see. All right, guys, you've obviously probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, then it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right, allowing for a little bit of spontaneity there. If traditional options haven't worked, don't give up. Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews on their website. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. All right, guys, we're talking playoffs. Can the Colts end this 4-year drought? I mean, I think around here we're pretty over it. We got very spoiled to be making the playoffs pretty much every year. I mean, even Andrew Luck drug the worst of rosters, did 3 straight playoff appearances in his first few years. And yeah, it's not been great since. It's been like 2 appearances in the last decade, it seems like. Not winning the AFC South. Everybody else has won it at least twice since the Colts last won it. So not great vibes all the time. And it seems to kind of center around the quarterback position. But Ben, what do you think? Like, is there an avenue here for the Colts to make the playoffs? They don't play in the most competitive division.
Yeah, heck yeah. They absolutely can. You got to win 10 games. There's 7 of the 16 teams in the conference make it. So you got to be a little bit above average. And a little bit above average is 100% in the range of outcome for this Colts team. They've pretty aggressively added talent because I think for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, they understand that it's, we got to get some playoff appearances up here. Like you say, it's not even a guaranteed, like, all right, we'll have to be shooting for the wild card the way you might be feeling if you're in like the AFC East with Buffalo. Like, no, like there's depending on how Houston shakes out this year with a new offensive coordinator, like there's worlds where you're still competing for the divisional titles as we get into December. So absolutely. I mean, market wise, you're not making it a favorite. You're not making them likely to make the playoffs. I think it's still below 50% chance, but it's in the range of outcomes for sure. Yeah, no. And I think that's certainly the part of this is like, yes, they can make the playoffs, but the more important thing is, will they make the playoffs? And I think that's where it gets a little bit more dicey, is because when you have a quarterback situation like this, and this is what I've been saying the last couple of shows, is like when you have a quarterback situation like this, you could be anywhere from a wild card team to picking first overall, like we saw with the Tennessee Titans last year. Like when your quarterback position is this volatile, the floor could get so low. I don't think it's going to get that low with the Colts, because we saw what they did last year with Flacco and Richardson get a couple games within the playoffs. We saw with Gardner Minshew them get 1 game away from the playoffs. We've seen them get close with suboptimal quarterback play. But how important do you think this quarterback situation is? I mean, obviously quarterback's important, but I mean, just for this Colts team to get over the hump this year. Yeah, no, I agree. I'd be surprised if it's like atrociously bad, because they have Richardson, they have Jones, and you can make something out of either one of those guys for a 17-game season. So I don't think I would be surprised if they're a 5-12 team. That would really surprise me. Yeah. Obviously, quarterback's going to be your number one driving signal between whether or not you're able to get over that hump. It's worth noting, like, this is a good offensive incubator. We talked about how it was the best for Daniel Jones at the point of his career. It's not like, the Vikings last year, right? We're not at the point where we're like, this is like so plug and chug that right now Minnesota's expect their favorite to make the playoffs. We haven't seen JJ McCarthy take a snap, right? But it's just Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell on that offensive line is so good that we have such faith in their ability to be quarterback agnostic, to be quarterback independent. The Colts have not gotten there yet. You tell me Tyler Warren hits, you tell me like Adonai Mitchell figures it out, because Mitchell's a big player. They need like that field stretch of that big play guy to be a little bit more present. Like, we might be underestimating just how good the offensive incubator is. And then we get to a point midway through the season where it's hey, like, it just doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for the Colts. They're still going to be able to be offensively competitive. And then it goes back to that defense and how quickly they can get good. And so it's definitely quarterback dependent. There are enough worlds. There are a few worlds in which I'm sitting there on my, doing my ESPN work. The Colts are making the 7th seed, and I'm like, Daniel Jones is the 25th best quarterback in the league right now, and they made it just on the back of how good the roster is. So there are some backdoors to sneak in as well. Yeah, I mean, look, 25th best quarterback in the league might be the best thing the Colts have had at quarterback in 4 years. Like if we're looking sentence, that feels great, right? Like Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowler in 2023, but he was what, the 22nd best quarterback in football, maybe 23rd, 24th. Like, if Daniel Jones can just repeat Gardner Minshew, and this Colts roster we think is probably better than that 2023 team. They certainly have better corners and safeties. Then why was Gardner Minshew a Pro Bowler in 2023? I can't believe this is real. Everybody pulled out.
Alternate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, Ben, if you're Shane Steichen, let's say the Colts make the playoffs, how big a part of this was Jonathan Taylor, Khalil Herbert, DJ Giddens? Like, because if I'm Shane, I am running the ball disproportionately. I appreciate you including Khalil Herbert and DJ Giddens in there. That's not really going to move the needle for me there at all. Jonathan does miss like 3 games a year, so I mean, you got to factor those guys in. And an enormous part, right? And it's probably poor that we didn't spend a healthy amount of the time talking about it. I think that one of the things you could expect
one of the things you expect Warren to bring, right, is a little bit more versatility in how they run the football. They had the change on the interior, but we saw, a lot of what things would look like without Ryan Kelly and without Will Fries last year. We got tastes of that. And I think we can still expect this reasonably to be a pretty good running game because of the strength of their top guys, right? Because of the strength of Ryman and Nelson and Smith, and then also because of the talent of Taylor. I don't know if they'll be able to achieve a Derrick Henry like, Josh Jacobs like, Saquon Barkley like, this is just the engine of the offense sort of an approach, because they've yet to be able to find the mobile quarterback aspect of that, to find the 11 on 11 aspect of that, because Richardson hasn't been healthy for long enough. And then when they play him in the gun, and they're still spread out because that's how they want to be with their receivers. And so, yeah, it's going to be a big part of it, but I don't think the running game alone can be good enough to save the quarterback spot. I think it's going to have to be like Shane and manufacturing a lot of passing game, right? Talking about screens and RPOs and the stuff you can do through the air. I don't think they can do it on the running game alone.
Yeah, no, the running game is going to be a big part of it. And it was like in the last month of the season last year. I know they played some cupcakes at the end of last year, but averaging almost 200 yards rushing per game in the last month of the year last year, without Fries, without Braden Smith. They were still running the ball pretty well. So they found something that worked late. And I do think the Daniel Jones addition was kind of to have a little bit more of that +1 in there, but it's a very different +1 than it's like a +0.5, I think, when you have Jones in there.
I mean, I think if they play Jones for majority of the games, I think Jones is going to run the ball a lot. It's just that, it's not as scary of a run as you might get from a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson.
Right, exactly. Like, he can do enough to scare you, but it's not scary like a Jalen Hurts or Lamar, or even like Richardson when Richardson's healthy and doing it. But one more thing I want to ask, because we did talk about the running game and just this quarterback situation and the offense in general, and we didn't get to in the first segment, is just how drastically different these two quarterbacks are in their approach to the game the last couple of years. Richardson, it is, I'm going to hold it in here and I'm going to throw the deep ball. Like, I'm going to hang in here. I'm not going to get to my check down. I'm not going to get to my second option even, because I need to hit that deep shot there, even if it kills me in the pocket. Where Daniel Jones, we've seen the yards per attempt just drop and drop and drop. We've seen just the aggressiveness from him drop and drop. Do you think that was kind of like part of the process, I guess, in bringing Jones in, like the Colts just wanting to get more of the quick game? Or what do you think kind of went into it? You think it was just looking at the +1 aspect with Jones? What are your thoughts on that there?
I think he's the best guy available. I think that there was little to no stylistic choice made besides we want a 1-year veteran deal. We want to take a Sam Darnold swing, a Geno Smith swing, a Baker Mayfield swing. Who's around to do that? And Daniel Jones was around. And I say that with confidence because as we went into the Daniel Jones free agency, I was very firmly of the mind that he was going to be back in the Vikings on a 1-year deal to be the QB2 to JJ McCarthy. Like, who is going to make a market for Daniel Jones, who is, you got to remember, was released mid-season from the Giants.
Right.
And then, which was contract finagling, I understand, but still, like, that's the caliber of talent we're talking about. And the Colts were like, no, we so desperately need a 1-year veteran quarterback that we're going to pay Daniel Jones $14 million. And so to me, like, I don't think stylistically it was, we want to go a certain direction. Daniel Jones takes us there. It was, okay, we got Daniel Jones in the building. What stylistic direction is he going to take us? The whole ADOT thing is like, I don't know how. That's tricky, man, to figure out from like a playbook perspective and from a how do we want to be as a team, and how do we bring on Adonai Mitchell, and how do we use Josh Downs, and what do we look like in training camp? Like, the ideal offense for Daniel Jones probably looks a lot like the offense that they've run for Anthony Richardson over the last couple of years. And the ideal offense for Anthony Richardson, now with Tyler Warren in the building, probably looks different than the one for Daniel Jones, the one he's run previously. And like, they got some figuring out to do.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating like addition in my opinion. Just because I've been seeing the way that it's all like that's just transpired for Daniel Jones the last couple of years, and I'm like, this is not at all how Richardson plays. So how do you match the playbooks there with those two guys? They're so different.
You probably don't worry about it. You probably joker pool stick and chuck it into the middle and say somebody be better than somebody else, right? And then once you get there, you say, all right, well, this is how we're a little bit, we're gonna buy it. But it's very important to note, like, this is not, Richardson has previously thrown the ball downfield a lot, but what can we make of him? Oh, Daniel Jones has previously checked the ball down a lot. Can we get him to throw it further down the field? No, like, Jones is allergic to being aggressive. Because I think he's a better deep ball than people realize. He just hates throwing it. He's very scared of throwing it.
Right.
And Richardson is allergic to throwing short because he is terrified of the idea of having to make 5 good plays in a row. He'd rather just try to make 1 good play in a row, and then we score 7 points, I don't have to go back out here. And so there is no, like, let's elicit from this guy the thing that he's not doing. So, like, hopefully there is. But at this point, I would say, like, I don't think either one of them is going to suddenly emerge from a shell or the chrysalis and be like, no, I throw to all 3 levels of the field now. That's just not, that has not been either one of the dudes' DNA for the last couple of years.
Completely agree.
What I fear is I feel like OTA minicamp practices is like the most misleading highlights of the entire NFL calendar. I mean, it's where AD Mitchell burst on the scene last year. Like, remember,
I'm watching Quentin Johnson highlights out of the Chargers right now. He's catching the ball.
Exactly.
Psyops, dude.
Yeah. So AD Mitchell was mossing everybody last year, and we saw the rookie year he had. I mean, I saw a handful of Daniel Jones practices during the offseason program, and he was aggressive. He was going deep, and it looked good. He found Alec Pierce multiple times. Like, it looked deliberate. And then what I worry about is that we get into training camp or like into the regular season if he's the starter, and that all just goes away. So I'm holding on to that false hope if he is the starter that, he at least likes a guy in Alec Pierce that goes downfield. But Zach, you got anything else for Ben today? We've dripped the pan dry as I kind of expected us to.
I'm just happy Ben came over on here and just validated my concerns with Daniel Jones about the attacking downfield, because what was the number one concern all Colts fans had about Gardner Minshew in 2023? He will not throw the ball down the field ever. Terrified of the deep ball. Chris Ballard slamming things in the Colts press room or whatever about him not throwing the ball in the Houston game at the end of the season. Like, yeah, this is probably what we're going to get again from Daniel Jones. Hopefully he can be as good as Gardner Minshew. That'd be awesome. If he can be like Pro Bowl quarterback.
Horrible.
I know what a low.
Hopefully he can be as good as Gardner Minshew. You guys are in a dark place.
Look, this Colts team, we might hit 9 wins if he's as good as Gardner Minshew. And Pro Bowler Gardner Minshew. Let me remind you guys of that. So
we've said Pro Bowler Gardner Minshew too many times. I'm taking us out now, guys.
Okay.
Thank you all for making Locked On Colts your first listen today. As you know, the Locked On NFL Top 100 is here. It was voted on by us NFL hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our top 100 was formed by all of us experts that cover the teams and the players every single day. So find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. If you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider, again, camp starts this week. Why would you not take advantage of this? Go ahead and follow the link in our show notes. Follow us all on social media at Jake Arthur NFL, at Zach Hicks 2, and at Benjamin Solak, of course, at Locked On Colts. Rate, review, subscribe, find us everywhere. And with that, thanks again for joining us, and we will see you beautiful people tomorrow.